Hello friends, welcome to RAAONLINE lecture series on neurophysiology. Happy to meet you all again. This session we are going to see about cerebral cortex and the details of cerebral cortex. This session we are going to see in detail about the cerebral cortex. You know, the cerebrum is the largest division of the brain and it is a special feature of human beings. You know, phylogenetical evolution process has done a lot of changes in the cerebral cortex when we compare to the lower animals. The way the human brain has evolved is tremendous actually when compared to the lower animals. You can see the size of the brain is also more when compared to the lower animals and other primates. But it is not only the size, the number of neurons is very much important. In fact, the elephant has got a bigger size of brain when compared to the human beings. But you know, the number of neurons present in the human brain is almost twice or thrice more than the elephant. Okay, so it is the increase in the neurons that has given to all the important higher mental functions and the way which humans are standing distinct among all other living organisms in this earth. So let us see about the cerebral cortex and the different neurons present and how these connect with each other. That's what is going to be our session today. So you know, the brain is made up of cerebrum. Major part which is present inside the skull is the cerebrum. Okay, it has got two hemispheres, right and left hemispheres. Okay, the other smaller parts of brain includes your cerebellum, the brainstem and the spinal cord, which we have seen in detail under various instances. Okay, so here the cerebrum, so this is the cerebrum, this part and this part is the cerebrum. You know, this is the cerebellum. You know, this is our cerebrum. Okay, now this cerebral hemisphere, the characteristic feature of the cerebral hemisphere is that it accommodates larger number of neurons. Okay, it is because of two factors. One is the large surface area. Actually, the cerebral cortex is a group of neurons. Okay, and there are other subcortical structures which are all collectively called as nuclei. So these nuclei also contain neurons, but this surface area in the cerebral cortex is more, so they have got more neurons. Okay, and apart from that, the cerebral hemisphere, it is not just one stretch, it is thrown into so many folds. Okay, so the folds are called as sulci and gyri. So because of the presence of these sulci and gyri, also the surface area has increased so that it can accommodate large number of neurons. So let us just walk through some of the numerical data, the numbers we need to remember sometimes. So the total surface area is around 2200 centimeters square as a whole, covering both the cerebral hemispheres. So in this surface area, about 2/3 of the surface area is hidden in the sulci. Only 1/3 is what we see from the surface. Thickness of the cerebral cortex ranges from 1.5 millimeters to 4.5 millimeters. You know, it is thicker in the crest, whereas towards the deeper portions of the sulci, it is very thin. Weight of the cerebral cortex alone is around 600 grams, almost composing of about 40% of the total brain weight. Okay, and in the 600 grams, 180 grams is because of the neurons and 420 grams is because of the other cells, that is the glial cells, neuroglial cells. In the number of neuronal cells in the cerebral cortex, we have got 10 power 11 or 100 billion neurons and almost 10 to 50 times that of the neurons as the neuroglial cells. So these are the numerical data that we may require sometimes for an MCQ point of view. Coming to the subdivisions of the cerebral cortex. So previously they divided the cortex as allocortex and isocortex. Allocortex is the oldest cortex actually, phylogenetical development perspective. They are again classified as archicortex and paleocortex. This archicortex is nothing but a three-layered cortex, predominantly present in the hippocampal areas. Whereas the paleocortex, also called as pallium, okay, it is actually having 4 or 5 layers of the cerebral cortex. This paleocortex is predominantly having 4 or 5 layers of the cerebral cortex, and these are predominantly seen in the entorhinal area, okay, and piriform area. In all those areas, it is the paleocortex that is present. But majority of the layers of the cerebral cortex is made up of isocortex, which is also called as neocortex. This is the development that the human beings got as a result of evolution. Okay, so this neocortex or neopallium is made up of 6 layers of the cortex. These are the 6 layers: molecular layer, external granular layer, external pyramidal layer, internal granular layer, internal pyramidal layer, and polymorphic layer. Again, the polymorphic layer is again classified into layer 6A and B. So this is a picture of the cerebral cortex, that is neocortex. Okay, you can see the molecular layer. This is the external granular, external pyramidal. Layer 4 is the internal granular, internal pyramidal, and this is the fusiform layer or multiform layer. Okay, so you can see here in this part, okay, you can see here in this part, these are the horizontal connections between the cells. This horizontal lines are representing the connections between the cells in the same layer, among the same layer. Connections between among these cells of the same layer. Whereas the vertical lines are representing the connections between the different layers of the cerebral cortex. You can see maximum connection is present in the layer 6. It is descending, the fibers, they are descending, and in the layer 6, the maximum fibers are present. Okay, and we can also see that we can also point out from this layer regarding the functionality. Okay, so most of the sensory fibers which carries sensations from different parts of the body, they enter into the layer 4 first. Okay, from the layer 4, it can ascend either upwards or downwards and undergoes lot of integration among the different layers of the cortex, and its meaning is deciphered, and again lot of intercortical transfer of information is taking place, and finally we get to perceive the different senses differently. Okay, so this is regarding the sensory information. Coming to the motor information which is arising from the cerebral cortex, these information, they start from the layer 4 as well as the layer 5. Okay, so predominantly layer 5, and they descend through the layer 6, and then they go to the deep matter, that is the white matter of the cerebrum. Okay, so this is how the motor information arises from the cortex, and the sensory information gets into the cortex. You see, the layer 3, 2 and 1, they contain many of the granular cells.